Hey guys! All right, so we're going to talk about coronavirus, that thing, and spirituality. Really hoping to give you a higher perspective of what's happening. Trying to explain in a much bigger way what this means, what's happening, and hopefully give you some peace and some hope as to, that things are going to be okay. I wrote down some notes, so I'm going to look at my notes, and there's a few things I wanted to touch upon. So the first thing is to understand that this time where we are currently, most of us quarantined, really staying at home, things like that, this is what you want to consider like a detox. So if you've ever detoxed from something, whether it's sugar or, green juicing or, detoxing from drugs or alcohol or whatever it may be, you know that there's a time where like the first few days you're like, oh, it's all right. And then you just go nuts, right? Like there's just this feeling of I can't handle this. I can't handle this. And we really start like kicking and screaming. But with all detoxes, at some moment, we have that awakening, which comes from the crown chakra. And remember, corona in many, cultures is crown. So this really is meant to open the crown chakra. That's the kind of what it means. So at some point we will hit that point of peace, and we will hit the benefits of the detox. But we are currently in the kicking and screaming portion of the detox, right? It also reminds me of like when you're trying to put a diaper on a baby, or a toddler, really, they're like kicking and screaming, you like can't get them. That's basically what we're doing. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. But ultimately, you can calm them and you put it on. So we're gonna get to that place, but we're not there yet. So being able to see it as a detox, I think, will be helpful. And knowing that we're gonna have this, there is a spiritual awakening that's coming from this. This is not so much about the coronavirus, it's obviously like what the coronavirus is causing. The virus is just this thing that's getting us sick, but obviously like the whole, what's happening between all of us, and what we're dealing with is really about our structures. So you want to think about like being in a storm, and some structures are going to be nice and sturdy, and some of them are not, and they're gonna go away. For those of us who deal with hurricanes, I'm from Miami, so we know hurricanes really well. There's sometimes these storms that go by fast and they destroy things, but at least they're done fast. And then there's these storms that stay around forever, and the longer they're around, the more damage they cause. And that's definitely what's happening to us right now. That this is like a very slow moving storm, and it's just staying on top of us and damaging the structures that are not sturdy. Now, this is structure in a very big way, from government to our school systems, our restaurants, like all those things, to inward as well, right? So all the way into like my own structures, like what are the, how can I do this better? Like what's not really working? A lot of us who are business owners looking at some things that, wow, like this doesn't work. Like, if something like this happens again, like how can I recover? It's really a moment to look at our structures, to look at our home structures. We're home, our, the family, all those kind of things. So our structures are being tested, and that's really hard. So I'm going back to like this detox and all that kind of stuff. It's also that we're being stripped of our ego right now. Like a lot of things are like, a lot of us are recognizing, those of us who are able to have these moments of like joy and peace right now is because they're in a place of gratitude, and they're recognizing like what really matters. The ego doesn't always let us see what really matters, right? Like those things that we hold on to, the things that we worry about, whatever, all of a sudden they don't seem as important. So that is starting to strip. Some of us, the stripping is bigger because we haven't done any stripping. So it's going to hurt a little bit more, but then there are those of us who, maybe have done some stripping and are able to go into gratitude. So what's going to help the most, of course, is going into gratitude and to start see what's important. And remember that the stripping of the ego, it's like releasing a layer of healing. And at some point we ask for this, right? Whether you have been trying to manifest something and you set this out, or your soul has set this path for you. So this stripping is for us, right? One thing that has been like really funny for me is that I tend to care, like one of the things I go to is like I care what people think sometimes. And that has like so stripped from me during this time, because it's like, you just got to do things. You just got to go. I got to show up. I have to serve, all these kind of things. And like, I've been praying for that to leave me, but I can't seem to figure out how for that to leave me. So like, notice what is leaving you, like what no longer matters, right? And know that that was very much that's very much one of the things that needs to be released from you in order for you to move to that next level that you've probably been working on for a while anyways. You might not know what that next level is, but what is stripping of you is a weight that is not going to let you go into this new era. Speaking of new era, 2020 has always been a year that astrologers and psychics have always predicted as like a really the new era, big, and everybody thinks like, oh, new era, so beautiful. And we would have never predicted something like this to happen. But this has always been a very important year because we are moving into a new era. But a new era also comes with crisis and quick shifts, because energetically, we are typically shifting like little by little, like I'm changing little by little, right? Like I take steps and little by little I change, and maybe I look 4 years from now, I'm like, oh, I've made these little changes and now I look like a new version. A crisis is a fast energy that shifts you quickly and makes you move into the next phase very fast. Okay, so that is what we're experiencing on a global scale. I'm sure you have experienced this in your own life, that you have been, complacent at your job, you didn't really like it, you knew it wasn't for you, you knew you were really supposed to be doing something else, and then all of a sudden, like, you get fired. And it's like, damn it, because usually if we don't make the move, the universe is gonna do it, and it's usually much harder than if we would have done it ourselves. So that, the universe, like, right, the Mother Earth, all that is forcing us into change, because we weren't going to do it as quickly as we would have if it were just been on ourselves. So and that's why when we want change, we typically like, oh yeah, all of us want our change fast, but we don't, because fast change is crisis. Energetically, that like a fast shift causes a lot of chaos. And that's what we're experiencing. We're experiencing the chaos of a fast shift. We're gonna come out on the other side and things are gonna be so different, but we would have never, we're gonna do like 10 years worth of like work that we're gonna do in like a few months. So even though this feels very slow and it almost feels like we're on a pause, it's actually so fast, you guys. You have no idea how much is gonna change when we get on the other side, because of this literal quarantine that is happening to us. So it's a big push of energy that shifts us faster than we could have ever done. So now that brings me to this point. So we are going to be challenged, right, to shift, to adapt, to change, whether that's business in your work, whether that's at home, because now maybe you have kids, or being alone, whatever it may be, your money, your, things like that. Those of us that don't, those of us that are not flexible, those of us that are not willing to shift, and those of us that are resisting the change are going to suffer, because we are all going to be forced to change, and we are all being forced to transition and to move into the next phase. We can either do it kicking and screaming, or kind of like when they tell you when you're jumping, when you teach a kid how not to hurt themselves when they fall, you basically teach somebody like when you're gonna fall, like you get light, you like get loose, and like the more you tense up, the more you're gonna break your bones. And that's basically what we're doing. Like either we can tense up and get really hurt through this process, or we can just let go and just be like, all right, bring it. Like bring on the change, bring on the transitions, all that kind of stuff, and we will be less likely to be hurt. So it is. And this is easier for some of us, and everybody's in different phases. So I get it, because I know this is really going to break so many people's structures, and I understand that. And those are the people that maybe, for whatever reason, it was time. I've had moments in my